Hi folks, my name is Linda Emmett and welcome to Happiness is an Inside Job. We are the creators of our own reality, we create our own lives. Our mind is our biggest limit and it's our own beliefs, behaviours and habits constantly caught in those cycles that keep us trapped where we are and stand in the way of our own happiness. So throughout this podcast, we're going to take a deep dive into some of those beliefs, habits and patterns, where they show up in your lives and what you can do to change them. Hi folks, I hope we're all doing super well and welcome to this week's podcast where we're going to be talking about stress, trauma and the impact on our bodies. So as many of you may know, including me studying coaching and hypnotherapy for many years, I've also dived deeply into studying energy healing, meditation, breath work, and the polyvagal theory. And these are all to do with the body and how we feel we're in our body and our reactions and responses we're in our body. And I want to share with you some of the reason why I went down this road and took more of a holistic approach in the past couple of years in what I do. And that's partly because before I started studying the other things like the energy healing and the meditation, I very much worked from the top down, took a top down approach. So from the head down, working with our emotions, our behaviors, our habits and our triggers. And there is another school of thought out there and it's called the bottom up approach, which very much works on the body, somatic healing, meditations, pranayama, yoga, sound healing, different things like that. And after looking into and really studying a lot of these things, I do believe because stress and trauma are actually stored in our body, we feel our emotions in our body, not our brain. Our brain actually can't experience pain. It doesn't have any pain receptors. We feel our emotions within our body. Like when you think of it, when we get anxious or stressed or excited, you actually feel that in your stomach or your body might start shaking, your posture completely changes. All of our emotions we feel in our body. And looking at some of our more negative emotions or negative experiences like stress and trauma, these things are actually felt within our body. Tension is held in our body due to stress and trauma. So taking a holistic approach and working with combining the top down and bottom up really gets phenomenal results when it comes to us healing ourselves from either things that are happening to us now or things that have happened to us in the past. And looking at even the word tension, we hear that a lot about holding tension in our bodies. And tension is actually trauma or stress stored in our bodies. And what we do is we tense our muscles. We have areas that we hold the tension in, and over time, we repeat these behaviors, and our bodies are in these patterns. When our stress response is triggered, or when a trauma is triggered in our system, these are the areas that we tense up. So we're going to take a little bit more of a deeper look into that and talk about some of the ways that we can work with ourselves to relieve some of that stress out of our body, taking a body approach to it and working with where it's actually rooted within our systems to begin the release and the healing. One of the therapists that I admire so much and I've been following his work for years is a somatic therapist, and his name is Peter Levin. I don't know whether some of you guys have heard of him. He's worked with NASA before they went off into space. He worked with a lot of the astronauts. He's done phenomenal work. He has many books and he's been studying somatic therapy and trauma in the system for years. And he describes trauma as something that interrupts the regular coping mechanisms of the body and it kicks us out of our resilient zones. So effectively, his view on it is, or his take on it is that when we're stressed or when we experience trauma, our body goes into fight or flight. And it has a whole cycle that it goes through from when that's triggered in our system. And although trauma can be absolutely awful for us to experience, it can be hugely scary, it doesn't necessarily have to damage us for a prolonged period. What Peter says happens, and it's very, very true, is when we experience trauma in our system, we will either fight. If you picture an animal even running away from a cheetah, that animal within milliseconds will power up and run away as fast as it can. That's its flee response. Then when it makes it to a safe place, what the animal then does is it shakes. You'll often see this if you watch any nature programs or things like that. You'll see a deer or the animal shaking afterwards. It's discharging that energy. It's a very, very natural response, and it deactivates our system and winds it back down and puts us back into the parasympathetic side of our nervous system. But for us as humans, when we feel the shaking happen in our system, because we can get embarrassed or feel unnerved or feel uncomfortable, we stop this in its process. We can stop the cycle completing, and therefore trauma and stress in this way can get trapped within our system. The cycle just does not get to complete. And we then over time can begin holding tension in our bodies, and it creates behavior changes within us. So looking at the areas within our body that we have stored this trauma and this stress is really, really powerful. And working with those areas on a daily basis or weekly basis to release out that tension is really, really powerful in diluting what's stored in our body. Because as we all know, and we've heard so many times, that stress over time, stored stress in our body, has a huge impact, on our happiness, how we are in our day, how we're reacting and responding, how we feel emotionally, and B, on our physical system, on the levels of illness that we struggle with. Because we all know when we're stressed, we're not sleeping correctly, we're not eating correctly, our digestive system isn't functioning at optimal levels, and we are not built to be constantly in an alarm state. The stress response was only ever intended for emergency situations. Back centuries ago, it was when we were possibly being chased by animals, or, in caveman days, we needed different reactions and responses that we don't necessarily need so much now. We have different stresses now. A lot of what we're responding to now isn't life-threatening. It could be, a heavy workload, things we're absorbing from TV and media. We've become quite a fear culture when it comes to news and different things like that. And we can be absorbing that constantly and getting ourselves into that stress state by an overload of information. And although it's not life-threatening, our body is charging up its emergency response regularly. And because our bodies are absolutely amazing and we have superb cell intelligence, our cells store this over time, holding on to it to be ready to respond to what we perceive as threatening, what we are seeing as threatening. So two of the ways of working with this is, as I mentioned, and as I do, is working with the roots, habits and triggers that are in our head, our beliefs, our behaviours, our emotions. And the other way of working with this to really get into it and really help you move forward is working from the bottom up approach, working with the body. Because when we get stressed, we tend to disconnect. We tend to dive up into our heads and neglect our body. But as I've mentioned, stress is stored in your body. So what we're going to take a look at now is some of the ways that you can work with your own body to relieve stress, to get it to release, to complete the cycle and allow it to release from your system. And you can bring these practices into your everyday life and combat your own stress running in your system, along with developing the awareness and the understanding of what's creating it in the first place, but feeling into your body with the likes of breath work, yoga, and working with the vagus nerve are superbly powerful in working with your own traumas and stresses. So looking at 2 ways that you can work with your body to relieve stress, guys. We're going to look at first what is known as the polyvagal theory. There's so many books about this and so many courses on this, and it really, really is powerful. We have what's known as a vagus nerve. It's one of the largest nerves in our body. It's the 10th cranial nerve. It runs down from your brain into all your organs and many different parts of your system. And what that does is it picks up through sensory information what's going on in your body. So breaking it down, one of the things that it does is it checks different areas in your body for tension. And if it feels tension within different areas of your body, that's the signal it's sending back to the brain. It's telling your brain you are tensed in these areas, there's something wrong, we're not safe. So working with the vagus nerve in different points in your system is massively powerful. If you can relieve the tension within those areas, the sensory points that nerve hits, your nervous system is then sending the signal back to your brain that the area is relaxed, calming your own stress or anxiety response within your system. One of the places we have in our body that's really, really sensitive is our stomach, because it's one of the only areas of our body that doesn't have strong bones to protect it. It relies on our muscles to protect our stomach. And one of the first places that we tense upward in our system is our stomach. So one of the powerful ways of working with this is breath work. Within yoga, within breath work itself, within meditation, or within any amount of mindfulness. One of the first things that we do when we go into stress or anxiety is our breathing changes. We start breathing shallow. We don't breathe down into our stomach, down past the diaphragm, and we're breathing much quicker. So slowing down the breath, feeling it going down into your stomach, relaxes out those muscles in your stomach, and it's then sending the signals back that your system is safe. So working with your breathing, and this is why you'll hear so much and see so much. There's books created on breath, or many courses created on it, but breathing down into your stomach, relaxing your breathing, paying attention, getting yourself back into the present is absolutely powerful in working with your own stress response. Recognizing where you feel it in your body. We tend to tighten up our neck, our shoulders, our jaw, our stomach. We can clench our hands, we can lock our feet, unclenching these areas, loosening out these areas. And to work again with different points within your vagus nerve, there's an area just under the ridge in your ear, and that has a sensory point for your vagus nerve. So if you put your finger in there and start moving the skin gently like you're massaging it, doing circular motions, just gently massaging it and doing 20 circles in one direction and then 20 circles in the opposite direction. And doing that within both ears. And again, it's another sensory point for your vagus nerve, and it relieves tension within that area and softens the area out, again sending the signals back through the vagus up to your brain, letting your system know that area is relaxed, there's no tension within that area. So again, your nervous system is getting the signal that you're safe. Your nervous system is so fast. It's 0.2 of a second when the trauma or when the stress response kicks in within our system. It's in 0.2 seconds that our entire system is charged up and already ready. Everything, your blood pressure, your adrenaline, everything is completely charged within that short span of time before you even are consciously aware, before you can consciously even understand what's going on. So working with the tension points within your own body dilutes this before it even happens. It gets your body into a much more relaxed state. Or if you're feeling anxiety or stress coming on, or you know the situations that impact you, practicing these even first thing for a minute or two in the morning, doing your breathing down into your body, listening to 5 minutes of meditation, working with your vagus nerve and the number of different points in your body. There's another couple at the back of your neck where your neck meets your skull bone, and that's another area that you can massage. Again, just taking the tension out of that area, focusing on your neck and your shoulders. If they're feeling tight, change your posture, loosen them out. Again, your body's picking up on the signals within your body, or your brain is picking up, on the signals within your body. And that's what it's reacting on. That's what it's responding to. So you working with the areas within your body to relax them and release out any tension that you're holding. Again, that's the signal that you're sending back. Here's a key point that I learned that changed and reshaped a lot of the way I thought about things, and I thought about my own body and my own mind. Thoughts do not directly cause emotions. They actually cause shifts within the internal state in your body that changes the sensory information that is sent back to your brain through your nervous system, which then shifts your emotional state. So emotions absolutely 100% really come from your body, and your nervous system within this plays a powerful role. We have what's called proception, and that is the ability of your nervous system to sense your body's position, movement in space, posture, temperature, tension, pressure, vibration, and it is picking up on all of these signals constantly and sending those signals back to your brain through the proception system, and that's what we react to. So working with the sensory points of the vagus nerve within your nervous system, again, is powerful in shifting your own emotional state, because that's where it's originating from. So as I've mentioned, these very simple techniques within your massaging into your vagus nerve, breathing down into your stomach, humming from the back of your throat. Again, it's for vibrationary purposes. Just humming, but trying to do it from the back of your throat. When you're feeling a bit tense, you're out in the car or you're wherever else, you can feel a bit of it in your body. Humming from your throat. As they say, massaging, and the one with your finger within your ear, it's a very easy one to do no matter where you are, because it's not really too visible or too obvious. There are many more. And if you would like any of these, guys, do hit me up. Do leave it in the reviews and mention that you'd like a few of these passed on, and I can send them to you through email. So I hope you've really enjoyed this podcast, and this will be something I'll be diving a little bit more into over the next podcast, and how, again, we can work more with our bodies to alleviate the stress responses, the trauma responses, and what's triggering us from our bodies up, and really cause a real shift in our own healing and our own well-being and our own happiness. So thanks very much for tuning in, guys, and I will talk to you next week.